A lot of people say this show is really good. I bought a poster for it like a year ago, so I decided to just fucking watch it a few months back. Um, I don't care for it. I'm a big X-Men fan. I love the X-Men movies. I love X-Men comic books. I've read a handful, and I actually own one of the original X-Men comics. I don't know how much money that cost, but probably a lot. I also own an original Fantastic Four comic. I love comics. Uh, did not really care for this. First episode I watched months ago, and I just kind of forgot about this show. They introduced Sunspot and Jubilee. It's not very good in my opinion. It's the most entertaining episode out of them all, but it still wasn't very good. Uh, Bishop is written out of in like the second episode or the third. I don't remember which one. Second episode, I believe, is actually the one where they permanently get rid of Storm's powers. Sure, they bring it back later, but they set it off as it's going to be this permanent thing. So now we got to have a whole journey with her getting her powers back that I don't give a fuck about. Mojo, one of my favorite X-Men villains, shows up here and he's just whatever. He shows up skinny at first and they make a joke about how he's skinny, but then he's gets fat again like not too long later. So I don't really know what the point was. I haven't seen the original 90s show. The only X-Men stuff media wise I've seen is Wolverine and the X-Men. There was this Wolverine anime that only had one season that was really good, and obviously the X-Men movies. They've probably appeared in stuff that I've seen that weren't X-Men, but yeah, I didn't really care for this. Third episode, they write Bishop out of the show. Bishop is done dirty in the show too. Like, he fucking gets like pushed out a door in like the second episode and gets a shock collar slapped on him. In the same episode where Storm gets her powers lost. It's like they just wanted to do the only black X-Men as dirty as possible. Morph is barely a character here. He's mostly just a fucking cameo machine, which I guess is cool to see stuff like Quicksilver and Hulk and Lady Deathstrike show up when they're not actually those characters and it's just him morphing into them. But the most character he has is when Jean's revealed to be a clone. It's revealed at like the end of the episode, but he talks about how he believes Jean's going to come back. She's going to come knocking back any second. Uh, no, it was actually Storm. He believes Storm was going to come back at any time. And when the door knocks, well, when somebody knocks on the door, it's Jean. But Jean's already in the house. So that's how it's revealed there's a clone. I got it mixed up for a second. But yeah, he doesn't really do much throughout the show. There's a joke with him wanting to scratch Logan's back while he's in the shower, which was kind of funny. Gambit dies in fucking episode 6. Uh, he's one of my favorite characters, so I felt like they kind of did him dirty. The Magneto and Rogue relationship is weird. It's simple as that. There's no reason a guy that old should be dating a girl that young. It's simple as that. That is way too big of an age gap. And no one addresses it. No one. Not even one person's weirded out by it. A lot of the voice actors I don't particularly care for. I don't think they do a terrible job, but they're not who I think of when I think of the X-Men. I think Storm is probably by far the best one, though. Wolverine is sidelined and doesn't really do much, which I don't have a huge problem with, even though he's one of my favorite X-Men, because he is overused when it comes to media. I mean, he had 3 movies to himself in the X-Men series. He had X-Men Origins Wolverine, which, I mean, they did expect to make other ones, but that one didn't do very well, because they were going to do an origin movie for Magneto, which they did use leftover bits of that thing for X-Men First Class. But they were going to do multiple origin movies for X-Men. But we have X-Men Origins Wolverine, we have Logan, and we have the Wolverine. And hell, you can even count Deadpool and Wolverine if you want, which makes it 4. I mean, sure, he's a different character, but that's 4 Wolverine movies. He's always used way too much. He even had, like I mentioned earlier, his own anime. One season dedicated to Wolverine. Cyclops only had a brief cameo, and no other X-Men were in it. Um, so yeah, I'm glad that he's sidelined in this. The most important thing he does is he helps Jean get to the doctor and deliver her baby, which, let's talk about that too. Even though I don't like the reason why the doctor won't do it, he calls them mutant freaks and says he won't do a mutant, birth. I think it's perfectly understandable for a human to not want to do a mutant birth, as long as it's not bigoted. Because can you imagine someone losing control of their powers while giving birth? Because giving birth is really painful. So, you never know. Like, I know they aren't a X-Men character, but let's take Killer Frost, for example. Killer Frost. If she were to give birth, she could accidentally freeze somebody. And then you just fucking froze the doctor and they can't continue to help give birth. Yeah, it makes sense. There should be probably mutant doctors when it comes to giving birth. Or even, in general, because how is a human doctor supposed to know the anatomy of a mutant? Say they come in with a certain injury, like Angel with his wings injured. It makes sense. Like, I personally didn't care for this one being considered bigoted. I mean, he's clearly a bigot, but I think you know what I mean. Um, Nightcrawler shows up halfway through the season. He's pretty fun. I think his actor does a really good job. Rogue becomes a villain halfway through after, Gambit dies, and then they just kind of drop it. Like, she straight up tries to drop Trask off a fucking building to his death. The only reason he doesn't die is it turns out he's like was secretly experimented on by Bastion and turned into like this half human, half Sentinel thing. So yeah, suddenly Rogue becomes a good guy during the finale. Like, she turns into a villain in like episode 7, 8. At least 2 episodes. But in episode 9, Wolverine wants to kill Magneto, and she stops him. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because they were dating or something, but that's not the reason she gives. She's like, hold on, sugar, you're going for the kill or something like that, and then she just stops him. Then we don't see Wolverine for the rest of the fight until he actually tries to kill Magneto. They do that a lot, where they just don't show the character until they actually end up doing something important, which is just kind of annoying. Jubilee and Sunspot get into a little fight in this episode where he accidentally hurts her, so they just fight. He apologizes and they just fucking fight. It's so fucking random. Uh I guess it's mainly used for Charles to have a throwaway line about how Magneto turned the X-Men against each other. He didn't really. It was like a tiny little brief fight. I mean, sure, some people had claimed they were going to work with Magneto, like Sunspot and Rogue, and then that didn't even really go anywhere. I don't get what this show was doing at all. Magneto, speaking of Charles, actually, he's supposedly dead for like the entire season, but it turns out he's just on Earth with some chick. And he's about to be the king or something, but he realizes the X-Men is trouble. So he goes back to Earth. It's just whatever. The season ends with Bishop finally returning in the finale. Oh, Storm is dating Forge in this show instead of Black Panther, even though Black Panther makes an appearance at the end of the show. I find that really, really stupid. I really like their relationship. I'm pretty sure they divorced recently in a comic book, but they're they're just such a good couple. But yeah, Storm dates fucking Forge, who fucking lies to her. I get it was because he didn't believe that she would want his help if he told the truth. But why is she dating him? It's weird. I don't see Storm and Forge as a couple. And she's calling him like sweetheart and shit. Or my darling, not too long after they've met. It's very weird and forced, in my opinion. Like, you barely know this dude. You didn't know him when he showed up. So why are you acting like you've known this guy for years? Or at least a few months. Like, you barely know this dude. Storm's, her losing her power is probably the most heartbreaking thing in the show, but it is heartbreaking to see someone lose their power that they've relied on for so long. And having a power like connecting to Mother Earth has got to be heartbreaking to lose. But I don't know. Still didn't really care for it because she ends up getting it back. Omega Red and a few other characters have brief cameos like Captain America, Iron Man, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Cloak and Dagger. Gladiator is in one episode and has a voice actor. He has a decent amount of screen time. The finale ends on a cliffhanger. It's to be continued, but I highly doubt I'll watch season 2 because this show just bored me out of my mind. I just didn't care for it. They set up the fact that they got sent back to the past with Apocalypse, and then Cyclops and a few others got sent to the future with Cable. And both of them are the younger versions. Like, they got sent back to the past in Egypt, and it's before Apocalypse becomes Apocalypse. And they get sent to the future, and it's like a teen Cable instead of an old Cable. It's something. I didn't care for it. I had heard online that Magneto was cheating on Gambit with Rogue, but I think they weren't. She clearly states that she had dated Magneto before she joined the X-Men, and then he broke it off with her when she joined the X-Men. So, I don't get where people got that idea. Yeah, I didn't care for X-Men 97. I'm sorry if you did, but I fucking hated this show, especially with what they did to my boy Bishop and Storm.